Hi, my name is Bonnie, and I am inviting you to come and take a walk with me, or maybe sit on the porch swing for a while. We can sip or spill a cup of tea, or even jog through the city. It doesn't matter if you are 60 or turning 82. What I want us to do is take an honest look at where we are now and where we want to go. I recently took an adult education class on podcasting at a local college. And one of the first things I learned was that to be a successful podcaster, you need to be an expert on your subject. So I stopped and thought for a minute and said, well, come on, how do I get to be an expert on turning 75? And then, light bulb, how about this? Turn 75. I got this far without going totally insane or becoming incarcerated, so I must know something about living, and it can be some scary stuff. Many people have birthdays that are meaningful and life altering. It could be turning sweet 16, turning 21 or 35. Often hitting the age of 50 marks a time of self reflection on your accomplishments and planning for the rest of your life. But usually my birthdays were just another day. Maybe I was too busy living my life to take the time out for reflection, but I can't remember any major feelings about any birthday until now. Here's how it happened. Little background. I've been a group fitness instructor for many years. I study the body and movement, focusing mainly on seniors. When I hit 60, I started working out in the gym. I've been in the gym for a long time, over 50 some years. I just happen to like working out. But one time at 60 or so, I was in this hip hop class. And yeah, hip hop, me, over 60. But it was just a fun class. The people were great. The instruction was good. The music was out of this world. And I was just jumping all over the place, jumping Jackson, twisting my rear end and acting like I was crazy. And something said to me, should you be doing this at your age? And it sort of took me back for a minute. So what I did was, to make sure I was not hurting anything, I became a licensed group fitness instructor. Studied all the information about the body and the bones and everything, passed the test, and so now I could teach group fitness classes. And I started out teaching regular classes in the gym. Then I focused on silver sneakers classes. But I didn't like the workout because my body was a little bit more advanced, and a lot of people I met my age wanted something more advanced than silver sneakers. It's a good program, but some seniors just are more energetic than that. So I pretty much catered to that population. And then I started studying more and more about the body and movement, strength training versus lifting weights and developing muscles. So I developed my own style of working out for seniors, and it got really, really good response. The classes were fun, instructive, and different from anyone else's class. People always would say to me, what I like about your class is that you change it every single time. You never do the same class twice. And I said, oh, yes, absolutely. What they didn't know is after I finished that class, I could not have replicated it 5 minutes later, because I just let the movement and my body and the sound and what they were doing in class move me from step to step. So I was teaching way too many classes a week than I really should have been, but I just love working out. And I moved from a mid-sized city to a resort community in the South. And it was major different. It was eye-awakening. It was mental awakening because it was so different. And I was not teaching a lot of classes because I just hadn't established anything much yet. But one day I was just walking around the town and I started looking at people that were walking around near me and realizing that this was a city, a small town, well, because it wasn't even a city, it's a small town that caters to retirees. Not so much retirees, but it seems like a lot of older people have moved to this town to get away from the cold weather. My reason exactly, I just could not handle that cold weather anymore, so I wanted to move someplace where it was a little bit warmer. And so it's a town where there's a lot of old people. So walking around, I started looking at who are my neighbors. What do they look like? What do they like to do? Now, I've always been the type of person where I say hello and goodbye to my neighbors, a polite smile and a closed door. And I think I'm in pretty good shape. I'm not as skinny as I used to be, but who is? So, and don't get me wrong, I do tend sometimes to obsess about how my body has changed from day to day, literally sometimes. During my classes, I always talk about senior fitness, and in the class, we'll talk about how we age, how the shape of our body changes, what's due to gravity versus what you eat, what can be tightened or reduced. But mostly, I tell my class people, learn to love your body the way it is and accept your aging and changing body. And we talk about that a lot. And I'm always very positive about what changes your body is going to go through. But when I go home and close the door, I look in the mirror and go, oh my God, when did this happen? I can't believe that I look like this. I mean, vain. I even practice standing in the mirror like I'm going to the beach. And if I'm standing on the beach, how can I sort of twist my body and so that my stomach doesn't look flat, or all that kind of crazy obsessive things. But you know what? All the people that are living inside my head says, this is just who you are, accept it. But we can all be a little bit vain, no matter how much we say, yes, I love and accept my body. Get real, okay? I do it, and I'm sure sometimes you do it too. Okay, I'm getting there. So I was putting together a stretching class, and I said, what do I want to talk about for my class people to learn about stretching? Because stretching when you get older is very, very, very important. So I was just browsing through the grocery store, and I looked at all the people that were probably around my age, which is everyone down here, it seems like. And I just noticed that, women had their cute little Bermuda shorts and tops and comfortable shoes. They had little fat knees. So do I, so I'm not being mean. Their husbands have on knee-length shorts and short sleeve shirts and sneakers with socks or sandals with socks. Everybody's around 50 or 60 pounds overweight, but you know what? They're all happy. They appear to be very happy living their lives in contentment. So I said to myself, then why bother? If everyone is so happy and calm, why am I stressing about what happened to my waist? And why do I keep worrying about that emerging belly? If I'm turning 75 in a couple of months, maybe now is the time to just eat what I want and let it all go? Is now the time to stop working out to videos at home since I can't find a really good gym close to my home? Should I start looking at my neighbors differently and maybe join their little gossip groups playing bingo because that's how older people feel their days? I just maybe should stop and stop even getting these little part-time jobs I get to stay busy, because I hate to shop and I hate to sit at home watching TV. I don't like to knit or sew, and sometimes it gets lonely, so I just go and work someplace like substitute teaching or something, just to have something to do sometimes. And again, put that into turning 75, and suddenly I seemed old. And, you know, it's just the difference. It just, this birthday just hit me strangely. And my grandson was getting ready to graduate high school, so I went to spend time with them. They live up north in the cold, cold weather, and I wanted to see him graduate. And I was talking to one of my neighbors, my daughter's neighbors, and he was someone I always was friendly with, him and his family, and they had a couple kids, and we would always stop and chat, you know, how you doing and everything. And he said, "Oh, do you like where you live?" And I said, "Yeah, it's warm. The winters are not, you know, brutally cold like here." And he said, "Have you made friends with people where you live?" And immediately I said, "No, because I haven't yet met anyone I want to be friends with." And it came out of my mouth. And I was like, wow, did I just say that? It was such an honest and spontaneous statement that it took me back a little bit. I had to stop and think about it. I have always been a very political person since high school. I was always very involved. I marched for civil rights and women's rights and any other right that needed to be attained. And that hasn't stopped me from espousing my views and ideas and still believing in those ideas. But now I live in the South. And maybe I should stop expecting stimulating conversation now that I'm turning 75 and living in the South. After all, just yesterday I was 16 and marching on a picket line. What happened? Where did all that time go? How did I get to where I am today? And then again, revelation, one of these people in my head said, wouldn't you ever really care about how someone judged you or what they thought about you? If you want to still have a decent body at 75, go to the gym. There are a lot of people out there who will want to be just like you, and keep that energy and keep your mind young and keep your life very robust. Keep moving. And okay, I said, yeah, it might as well be good years that I have left, not just years. We can always talk about remember when. And am I going to let remember when become the two words that define my life? Like, remember when I was a little hottie, I was thin. Remember when I had flowing long hair. Remember when I was smart, fun, at the top of my game, etc. Good is being defined as agile, flexible, mobile, with a sound body, an independent mind. I'm energetic and feeling good. And I'm going to keep doing that. And I'm going to keep encouraging other people around me to do it too. Because if I look at where I am turning 75 and ask myself, where do I want to go? One thing becomes, well, a couple of things become inherently true. I want to have at least 10 to 15 good years left. Good. Remember I talked about what is good? Good years left. I want to share those good years with other people and say, let's walk on this journey together. Because I have lived a life where I have no regrets about what I didn't do. Now, I might have regrets about what I did do, but I will never be saying, oh, I wish I had done that, or I wish I had gone there, because everything that I wanted to do, I did. And if there was anything that I want to do now, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? If not now, when? I have another 10 to 15 good years, and I want to be able to come and go as I choose. I want everything that I do in my life to be based on my needs and not somebody else's wants. Where did I hear? I heard Dolly Parton when she was sick a couple months ago, and she was saying, I'm going to wear out, but I'm not going to rust out. And I said, there that is, slam. I'm not going to rust out. Yeah, sometimes my bones won't let me do what I really want to do. In the morning, you get up and you take a body check. What hurts today? What shifted last night? But I'm not going to just sit around and accept that my body will become stayed and not be able to move or stuck or I can't lift my arm anymore. That's not going to happen. Life at my age is too short for me to live the same day twice. That's another thing I heard and I now embrace. I'm going to do different things every day. I don't want the same old routine. And I've always embraced the cliche of opening up my mind, body to new experiences. I want to live out loud. I will close any doors to things that don't serve me anymore, whether they're ideas, people, or things. If I don't get what I want, sometimes I revisit the thought and ask if what I was asking for, what I wanted, was really meant for me. Because if it was, then I would have gotten it. And maybe I wasn't ready to receive it, or would it really have been that good for me? Again, I may feel sad, but I have no regrets. Because I honestly believe and know that something better is waiting for me. I trust the universe to protect me and keep me walking through life, knowing that I am walking towards good things in times, even though I may have to pass through some setbacks in order to get there. Now, you're saying, oh man, she got it all together. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. But sometimes, yeah, I'm just saying, I'm tired. But I'm not going to become old and crotchety. When I get into that mood, I just jump out of it and say, nope, I'm not going to start living my life as someone thinks I should. And I have people, you really shouldn't be doing that. Well, is that good for you at your age? Are you the type of person that will let someone saying that to you stop you from what you wanted to do? Because I know that there are people out there that might be. Are you listening to all the people in your head? Are you sometimes thinking, is it just me? Is that person who is asking you questions a member of your family who just wants you to be safe and not to harm yourself because you're getting old? Do you hate getting those condescending smiles from a doctor or from somebody else when you ask questions about what they're doing, why they're treating you this way, why are they diagnosed as this? Do you ever get the look like, okay, now let me just tell you, because so many times we let people define how we think simply because we're getting old. Do you have pet peeves like some little person in the store that will look at your credit card and say, thank you, Bonnie? And I'm saying, little girl, when did I give you permission to call me by my first name? Do I know you or your family? Put a handle on it, like my mama used to say. You don't call nobody by their first name if they're at least 10 to 15 years older than you. We don't have to accept what people think we should be doing. And that's why I want you to come with me on this journey, because I think we all need to start embracing and respecting what it took us to get to where we are. My daughter says to me, Mom, sometimes you just don't have a filter. And I just say, because what that little girl don't understand is that everything that comes out my mouth has been well planned out and well thought out. And if it hurts your feelings, it was meant to hurt your feelings. It's not about not having a filter. It's about not having anyone control the words that I want to speak. And yeah, sometimes they may hurt someone, but I never do it unless that person came for me first and assumed that I was just going to be that little old lady who would accept anything that they had to say to me, and that's all there is. Old age has its privileges. I couldn't wait till I was turning 75 because then I would not have to take my shoes off when I go into the airport and you go through that security check. Of course, when I went there and they just said, oh, you can keep your shoes on because you're getting ready to turn 75, and they gave me a sheet, a laminated sheet that said expedited on it, and told me I could go through another line. So of course I said, wow, what happened? What did I do? And they said, no, just go over here and show them this sheet. It says expedited. So I went to where you put the luggage on the trays and everything, and he said, oh, just put that there in the tray and just send it through. And I said, well, I have a laptop. Do I have to take it out? He said, no, just send it through. And then they took me over to another line for the like that you walk through the x-ray machine, and they said, you got any metal parts in your body? And I said, nope. They said, go on through. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody gonna tell me what happened. And they said, well, at a certain age. I said, oh, you mean I'm old now? Am I old? And people around me start laughing because I was, hey, I love it. I don't have to go through all this check, beep, 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 all that stuff. And they said, do you really think that it makes a difference? He says, well, yeah, at 75, we pretty much assume that you're going to be relatively safe going through the airport. And I said, okay. And I liked it. It was fun to be expedited. It was easier for me. So that is one time where being old has its benefits. And I have no problem of asking for that senior discount, or I can't do this because I'm too old. One of the things that I always do, though, when I get on the airplane and I'm getting ready to put my luggage in the overhead compartments, inevitably, two or three guys will stand up and say, let me get that for you. And I say, thank you so much. You are a true gentleman. But listen, can I try it first myself? Because if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. And those politely smile. I say, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm putting that luggage in the overhead bin. Now I say, watch me, because if I start to topple over, catch me, please. But I want to use my body and be able to do those things for as long as I can. Because if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. So I keep on trying, and I keep hoping I have a whole lot of more years when I could put my luggage up in that overhead bin by myself. Because I'm having fun turning old. Sometimes, though, people can underestimate you. And when they do that, it makes my day. Okay, you say what? You think you could do what? Don't even go there. Just turn around, walk away, because this old lady going to make you cry. I will tell you, though, that sometimes it gets on my nerves when people assume that you're stupid because you turn older. One more thing that I just loved seeing the response to when this happened. Took my family on a cruise, and we, had a very nice time. The last night of the cruise, we were sitting at our dining table. Now, this person had served us throughout the time of the cruise, and it was the last evening, and he turned and talked directly to my daughter. His back was to me, and he was telling her about, it's your last evening, and we hope you've enjoyed the food and the service, and you're going to receive a survey from the ship, and they're going to ask you how was your food experience, and on, and hopefully you'll be able to give us a good review. And as he was going through his little speech, looking at my daughter, I was just politely looking at the back of his head. And he turned around when he finished and to smile at the rest of the table. And he smiled at me, and I started to get up and said, well, it was nice hearing what you had to say to my daughter. But since I'm the one that's going to get the survey, because I'm the one that booked and paid for this cruise, it's a shame that you didn't have the decency to turn to me when you were talking. And he was like, but I'm so sorry, just stuttering and stammering, and I'm just getting up and walk away. I said, now you have a nice evening, because your review will reflect your treatment of me the last day. That felt so good. And I know it was mean, but it felt so good. And I don't apologize for what I said or how I said it. Now, I wasn't rude. I was smiling the whole time, but I'd let him know. But you never, ever marginalize anybody because you don't know who is holding the purse strings. And sometimes it just feels good to get them little digs in and reminding people that age does have its privilege.